viewers, welcome to the Women's Show this week's edition. My name is Ruth Kitamirike, and today we shall be discussing everything to do with women and the economy. Everyone out there is crying about inflation, food prices, fuel, and everything the economy has for us, especially after COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war. So as the women's space, we are here to see how does this specifically affect women? Is there a special way in which this economy and whatever is going on in Uganda is affecting women? And later in the show, we shall be drawing this from a point of the festive season is around the corner. What do women have to say, especially in line with the festive season and the economy that we are in today as a country? So joining me today in studio for this wonderful conversation is an amazing panel of business women. Women I trust, women I know are top-ranking business women in this country. I'll let them introduce themselves, starting from my far left.
Oh, thank you so much, Ruth. Oh my God, that was a big one. Okay, my name is Joanna Atukunda. Yes. I am the founder of Upliftslum Africa, yes. And I am always happy to be at the Women's Space Show. I am not sure I'm like the top enterprising women, but maybe it's a prophecy come true sometime.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you, Joanna. We're happy to have you.
Oh, thank you, Ruth.
Yes.
My name is Nyabuhara Julian, and I'm the ED of Uganda Women in Trade and Manufacturing, and an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Julian. We're always happy to host you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Wow, thank you so much. My name is Elliot Orizaarwa Nakanjako. I work for Women and Girl Child Development Association. Women and Girl Child Development Association is an organization that started in 2009, and our niche is women's economic empowerment. We have seen entrepreneurs growing, and we have seen women going into small-scale industries. And we are happy that we are in this space where we are talking about issues of women and the economy, and most especially the inflation that has risen from day one until today.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. I'm excited about this panel. We have a diversity of women in diverse areas. I'll begin with you, Julian. When we say the economy and women, what comes to your mind? Could you paint for us this picture for the show?
That's a hard one. The economy and women, there is no way you can separate the economy from women.
Yes.
Women is the economy, and the economy,
is women.
Because the biggest percentage in the economy that consumes are women.
Yes.
The biggest people who do the biggest percentage of people who do businesses, those on small scale, are women.
Yes.
So there is no way we can separate women from the economy.
Yes. I
do not know if any economy would survive without women. Yes. And women are the biggest consumers. So if you look at the global economics, you'll see that the economy centers on the women products.
Yes,
products that are related to women.
Yes.
When we relate that to the topic of today, which is inflation.
Yes. Inflation
affects women the highest.
Okay.
It affects them so much. Actually, when we talk of inflation in an economy, then we are looking at women.
Okay.
First of all, women are the biggest consumers. They consume the products that are affected by inflation most because they are the ones who use cooking oil, they are the ones who use food, they are the ones who use cereals, they are the ones who... And normally when we talk of inflation, today as we speak, our Ugandan inflation is double digit.
Yes.
So believe me, the most hard hit are the women. So we are saying, how do we come in to ensure that it doesn't affect them so much?
Yes.
We are going into a festive season. As we go into a festive season, there is a fallacy that women tend to spend more.
I think we shall get to that.
Yes, I don't think women spend more.
Really?
But I think we spend on small things, but we spend on everything.
On everything.
So it looks as if we are spending more. But when actually I think men's expenditure is high.
It's high.
Though for them, they will go for a target item
Yes.
and spend good money on it. But when I
Okay.
have my 100,000 as a woman, and I buy food and I buy small dresses for my children, I buy a small shoe for my children, it looks like I've spent millions of money. So I think that's my small view on the small introduction on the inflation, then how it's related to the women and the economy. Thank
Okay.
you.
Elliot, what's your perspective on that? Do you entirely agree that?
I don't need to disagree with that. Yeah, because I think what Julian is bringing out is very important.
Okay.
First of all, if we talk about women and the economy,
Yes.
it takes us back from the gender perspective of what do we mean by women and the economy.
Yes.
Because women, as women, is a very big space in the population of the country. And when the economy is facing hardships,
Yes.
it takes us back to find out who is hardened in a way that you find the inflation of today has increased, but it has increased maybe because of fuel increment.
Yes, yes.
But when fuel increases, it doesn't mean that is going to affect only those who drive to offices, to those who drive going to church, to those who drive going to pick items.
Yes.
It goes back to the basics of what really women need to use.
Yes.
Women, most of the times, they use basics of looking after their children. And looking after their children, depending on which type of the child, but even depending on the age. As Julian talked about the issues of products. Which products are the women going to use if they are keeping their children in terms of child needs? You find that the Pampers increase, those who use Pampers. Soap increases, which we know very well that the soap has increased from 5,000 to 8,000, which is almost like a percentage of 3%, which is hard for majority of women in our country. Barely manage to buy above soap maybe for a week. Women and the economy, and putting again back the issue of the gender perspective. She has said it, talking about the festival and talking about where we are coming from and where we are going. When the war started,
Yes.
people thought it is the war. It is there, it is in Russia. It is not going to affect people here. But if you go to different spaces, to different institutions, let's say institutions maybe like the markets, if you go to the schools, and I want to take this to the market spaces,
Yes.
food increased. If let's say we had women in the trade and they are trading in matoke, if a woman was using capital of let's say 1 million to buy matoke from one place to another, maybe transport them, fuel increased, but even the farmer decided to, not even decided, increase the price of the matoke because what she uses within the plantation has also increased in terms maybe of fertilizers, those who use them. The economy becomes hard for them. When you go to the market, tomatoes increased. Because if you went to those places where we buy the, how do we call them? The farm inputs.
Yes.
They also increased. Someone tells even if they had those things in the store actually, we did not have even those measures. We did not see economists coming out to say we had products in the stores, so we can't increase the prices. And definitely we all know that if the prices increase, then it means the supply is also going to do what? To increase. But this time we did not have, because of different reasons. We had reasons that really affect women in different spaces, like drought, mainly in Karamoja. I know many people talked about Karamoja in terms of famine, in terms of drought, but it hit so many people. If let's say I can just give, if I can just pick some few districts, and I will just definitely start with my district, Ruchiga district. You find that there was drought in Karamoja, but there were floods in Ruchiga. And remember, people were using the swamps to grow food. And then that is the time when the government policymakers came in to say, because of climate change, we are reducing on the number of farmers that are using the swamps. Meaning now the prices started to increase even because of the fear that we have been planting potatoes, Irish potatoes in the swamps, but because of climate issues, the government is putting a ban.
Yes.
You can imagine. So many people started diversifying into other businesses, and then everything increased. But how did this affect women? Men ran away from using the swamps, went into those small businesses that the women were doing. So women were affected. I want to end up talking about what you bring out in the perspective of this festival. First of all, as a gender person, I will not agree that women shop a lot. I never shop a lot during Christmas. I shop accordingly because I have maybe been in a small saving group where I have been saving little money, as Juliana said. And maybe I have a 500,000 shillings for Uganda, definitely. And then I want to shop, but I am shopping a dress that I'm going to put on Christmas. But again, my sister is also giving away her daughter. And then I have to put on a different dress. But this man is going to buy maybe one suit, or he has one suit that he has not has not dressed on for quite some time. So if he's putting it on at that wedding, no one is going to care. And then the festival, yes, women shop. I was talking about myself. But I know there are even those women who are in small groups in those markets. But they have been also saying, I will buy rice for my mother. That care, that type of care is also very, very important. And then lastly, we all know that we have the majority of women, a highest increase that is unpaid. The unpaid work that really affect them is when maybe their husband still have the socialization and the norms that they picked from their fathers, that they have to give their wives money to buy dresses during Christmas. So when you see them running around, you think women are going to shop, but because of the hardships and because of the inflation, definitely, I will give my actions later and my recommendations, but not having to say that women shop during the festival only. Allow me to submit now.
And thank you. So Diana, we've had the perspective of the two women. You work with slum women, right?
Yes.
So I want you to help us paint a picture for someone who is out there, probably people streaming from outside this country, who would want to see what the picture is when we say inflation in Uganda, when we say, as they've been explaining, women and how they're affected by the economy. How is it for the slum woman?
Thank you so much, Ruth. Now, for a slum woman, first of all, their problems have always been very structural, and it's not even about just yesterday or just the festive season. They have had these issues for the longest time. First of all, they're like 100% of the women in slums are in informal sector. Even those who have businesses, it's not a business of I'm waking up to a boutique and I'm going to sell a dress of 50,000. Let's say minimum. No, they're selling plantain. They're selling foodstuffs basically, and other things that are like small household things. And so at that point, the inflation will not just affect them, it will drown them. It has drowned them. Because if this person has been surviving on, let's say, making chapatis, right now buying just a pack of wheat goes up to 10,000 plus. So if she would buy it, let's say 5,000, then buy the oil also 5,000, at least she's able to make a profit of, let's say, equally 6,000 or something after everything. But right now, the total of what she has been using to buy the two products, the two resources, is on one product. So the slums, it is really, really, really a hard time for them. And looking at the so many women that have engaged in business now, we can't say women have not tried to get into the business space. They have tried to get there, but what are the underlying factors that get them to do the business? By the time this woman wakes up and say, let me just go and make chapati, maybe I'll get 500 of it. It means even at home there is nothing to eat. These women in slums, most of them are single mothers. On top of being single mothers, they have like 5 children in every single small household. You understand? So And it reaches a point when they don't even know what to do with these children. And sometimes they have to stop them from going to school so they can help in the business. And now inflation is here. They can't even sell from far away from the slums because the transport is again a problem for them. So being in these slum dwellings, looking at all the legal perspectives that come with the businesses. First of all, their businesses are not even registered because of the legal issues that come with them. Then they have the extended families. I mean, some of them have daughters because there is a lot of teenage pregnancies in these slums. So they do not just have their own kids, but also some of them grandchildren, and at a very young age, at a very, very young age. So you're going to find the mothers, the teenage mothers, all of them engaging in one small business that does not earn them a lot of money, and yet they have to survive on a daily, because for them, talking about economics, talking about investment, they don't save anything. They absolutely do not save anything. It is hand to mouth on a daily. So when we talk about even being on the economic platform, they do not even get on the economic table, because when we are discussing economics, they are so into subsistence that it is basically, even if they had where to grow the food, it is grow the food, eat it. They can't sell the surplus, because even if they sold the surplus, it is to buy soap, still for home for consumption. So it is really challenging for the women in the slums. And when we talk about the festive season, I have had an opportunity to do activities in the slums during the festive season, when we do just outreaches to give them a few items here and there. But the excitement of this family receiving just one bar of soap. You look at it and you're like, okay, I just thought soap was a basic need. But to these people, it is a miracle. Because if she has made 10,000, she has to buy posho of the 10,000, buy the beans of the 10,000, buy medicine of the 10,000, and then what of soap? Now soap is also 10,000. So what becomes of this woman? So the festive season for them, it's not even an enjoyment that they look at it and then look forward to. Some people who are going to buy Christmas trees of 500,000. No, they do not have that luxury. And when you talk to their children, they're like, hey, Christmas, ngenda kulya mchele n'ennyama. And that is if they get it. So it is really hard. And when I look at the inflation rates, let's be honest that with all these economic hardships, it is the down people, the vulnerable people that are most affected, because they are not earning, first of all. On top of not earning, they are spending like everyone else. The basic needs that a person who is working and earns a salary of 1 million, the same needs of soap, food, shelter are the same things this slum person needs. But who of them is earning more and who of them is spending more? They equally need to spend, but they are not earning money to spend. So it is really hard on them.
Okay, what a story.
Amazing.
This indeed sets us off for the next question. Recently, I was engaged in a project evaluation exercise, and this project was looking at women's economic empowerment. And as part of the activities of the project, it is mainly in the rural districts, Chibuku, rural districts of this country. And they're giving women financial literacy skills. In an engagement with the women, I asked them, what have you benefited? No, we're assessing, what have you benefited from this project? And one of the women stood up and said, for me, I always saved money for Christmas. And when Christmas comes towards the end of the year, a group meets and they share the money. And she was telling us that all her money before the financial literacy training always went into Christmas. And from the group, you could tell that that was a story not unique or not rare. It was a common thing for most of them. And it got me thinking. I was reading recently and I noticed there was a report that indicated that 38% of women undergo what they call a financial stress during such seasons, such as the festive season. They end up getting into depression, into what, because of the expenses and maybe the mood that comes around Christmas. So I want to know, why do such seasons affect women more than they do affect a man? do you think a man would save up all his money and say, Christmas is here, let's spend the money, or he would be mindful to think about, say, January or February? Is it a women's thing to release money for Christmas, or to show an extra excitement, especially when it comes to Christmas? I don't know who wants to go first. Julian.
I think we also, you know, everything affecting women has a background of culture.
Yes, I agree.
You will not separate what we do with culture. There is a way we are still entangled in culture.
Yes.
Even if you're a professor and still teaching in Makerere as a woman, there is a lot of things you do every day that are still attached to culture.
Yes.
So the reason why women tend to get so stressed about the festive season, economically and socially and everything, is because as women, that's a time when you feel like your children, your family should get the best.
Yes, yes.
So that's why you see 80% of women up country or in villages have made it a trend.
Yes.
It's actually not where you did research alone. It's throughout the country. They actually start in January to save for Christmas.
Save for Christmas.
Rice and
So
meat.
when they some will save in groups of food,
Yes.
some will do groups of money, some will do groups of
Meat.
so different activities.
All for
according-
Christmas.
All
Yes.
for Christmas.
Wow.
So there is one time I was talking to one of the group members, and I was like, so the whole year you plan for something that you'll spend on one day, just one day. But to them, that's the ultimate happiness.
Yes.
To them, it means so much to them. So what are those things that women tend to get attached to, that it's a must, that you must do them? First of all, like she has already said, a man can put on the same suit throughout 5 years and you may never notice.
Yes.
So long as he can change a shirt, he may even not change it. He'll put on his white shirt and it's kept well.
Yes.
The next year he'll still put on a same, and nobody will ever ask a man. But for a woman, it also comes with the cultural norms, the what people will say, she has put on the same clothes that she put on last Christmas.
I know.
What will neighbors say?
Yeah.
What will friends say? Oh, the daughters didn't send her money for a new cloth, you know? So she will say, she's forced to buy something new every year.
Every year.
And not every woman has the privilege to have a husband who could buy the things for them.
for Christmas.
Then you have your children. If you today, as we speak, the economy is so hard that men are no longer doing what they were supposed to do. They have left some of these main things to women.
Yes.
A man will say, okay, I'll feed my children on Christmas. If you want to buy clothes for your children, go and buy them.
Yes.
Sure.
So it becomes her sole responsibility. I mean, her children are almost naked.
Yes.
Then there is good food. And as women, we tend to be divided by so many things. Besides your own family, you have a family where you were born.
Yes.
You feel you're indebted to your mother. You need to do something for her. You feel you're indebted to your own siblings. There is something small that you may send them.
Yes.
So being the mothers that we are naturals, we are givers. We are looked at as people who are, everybody looks at us. If there are so many families in the villages that will be looking at you when you're coming from Kampala, going to the village for Christmas.
Yes.
So, and the women in the villages themselves, some of these things have become even like they are a must. There is no way you can belong to a certain village and you're not in a certain group of women.
Women.
Who will even talk to you? Who will even, like, where do you belong? Like, it's a must.
Yes.
You get it?
Yes.
There is a time I was involved in some activities in a rural area where I come from. There was a scenario where people would come to and explain to me, like, I would ask, why is it that these groups are stressing you to a level where you're doing things that are unthinkable? That there is no way. Women have reached a level where they're even selling their bodies to get money to take to a cash round.
To the group.
To a cash round. If it's a Tuesday and it's a cash round, whether of some of these items or it's they are adding up for a whole year, or if it's an activity that they are going to distribute money at the end of the month or at the end of 6 months. I mean, nobody will listen to your story. So I think there is a way the economy has stressed women beyond a certain level that we are not giving attention, and it's going to become a catastrophe.
Yes.
Either to these women or to their children or to the next generation. That we need to wake up and pay attention to what some of these activities that have been inculcated in these rural settings, that we need to go back and review them.
And review them, yes.
And sit with them and talk to them. If you do this for the whole year, is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
What if we
Imagine saving money all for meat?
For expenditure.
Exactly.
That is something I wanted to come to. As we talk of the inflation, is it time now to save for consumption? Only for consumption? No. How about your children? And what's shocking, this woman will save for Christmas, but she will not save for school fees for her children in January. And the same family will be saying, no, we can't take our daughter to school because we don't have school fees. But they spent over 200,000 for meat. So it doesn't make sense to me. So I think we need to look at the norms that are being, and these new cultures that are being formed in different villages. That this village is doing this, so we must do it. Our village has started a project, Eka Box, so everybody must do it. Those are the norms we need to come in and break and talk to these people. Probably they need financial enlightenment. That's very good that you're able to save. This is very good of you. But how do you use your savings? How do you use your savings? Are you investing them somewhere such that you're able to make more money? Such that this year, if you saved 200,000, next year you're able to save 200, now you have 400. After 5 years, probably you have 2 million.
But maybe, Julie, point of information. I agree with you to some extent. But let us first understand where this is coming from.
Yes.
And if we want to change the mindset, when do we have to do that? Because we are talking about this day where the inflation is high, where the prices are high. We are talking about of the woman of today.
Yes.
We are talking about of the teenage mothers that we are seeing today. And we are comparing the festival with school fees. You know, for me, I think the most important thing, if we want to change the way things have been going on in terms of women's economic empowerment, we need to, first of all, investigate. She's talking about Chibuku. I have had a chance of being in Chibuku, working in Chibuku for quite some time. And women tried all those things. I know one case in scenario where we have given one of the groups money as loans to be paid in 6 months. But by the time we go back in the first month, this woman has not even paid a shilling. And maybe the husband took the money and went to another village and married another wife. But if we want to bring the conversation of understanding why these women are spending a lot in the festival, where I really agree with Julian, is women are givers.
Yes.
There are sometimes you find mothers, some mothers in some households, where they go and shop for their children, but they don't shop for themselves. They even shop for the husband, actually, those who have them, and they don't shop for themselves. Just because it's a celebration. How do we differentiate between building the economy of women and doing the festival? Today we are talking about the weddings. I believe Joanna and her are young girls. I don't agree with someone now going to wed and say, I'm going to spend 80 million on deco. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
But the younger girl will like, it's fine, mine is deco. You get?
Yes.
So mine is deco. I don't want to know. Mine is this gown of this amount of money. I don't care whether there is a house tomorrow, whether I will find that guy with a bed. I don't want to know. The same thing is the women that we are talking about, building their economic and being able to know that spending on Christmas in this festival. It's just one day, but tomorrow there is another day. For me, going forward, I want to bring in an element of how do we be able to go and give education to these women, that if you are in the group, of which even she said it, even women who have done economics and they have even done PhD in this, during Christmas, my sister go to town and you will see, you find a professor seated in a shop with a list. You get, and this person has been shopping. It's a mind, it's a psych, you know. But how do we plan? Tell this group of women there is inflation, okay, and the economy is just completely down. Yes. But please make sure you have money for school fees.
Come January.
Aside, come January, maybe keep it in this group of women. Maybe this time you are not going to shop like the way you have been shopping. Maybe let's reduce, isn't it? And Julian, what you miss is maybe your home is different. My home, it is a different story. In our village, they grow sorghum. You get it? Women have groups of 10 to 15. Yes. They provide labor. They grow for you sorghum in January. You pay them when you harvest. You get? Yes. But remember, because of this inflation, lack of food and everything, this sorghum is sold before it is ready for harvest. So women are running through this and this. They have not paid the people who provided labor. And this woman is saying, for me, I want my money in September because I want to put it in the group, because I want to save for 7 kilograms of meat, save for rice, and some money to make my hair. Wow. You get what I'm saying? But remember, the woman, the other person is also saying, I had planted, I thought I was going to get 3 sacks, but now I have 1. And this one, my husband also sold it before I harvested. Or my child had a problem, I sold it and took this person to the hospital. So, going forward, having the investigations, having researched of what we can do better. Because this is the culture, as Julian says. Yes. This is culture. This is something that has been happening. This is something that women have really socialized with for a long time. And it is not only in Uganda. Even when you move in other countries, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I saw women in Malawi yesterday. They were saying, guys, for us, we have kept money for Christmas, but we have kept money to buy seeds. So that when it rains, we are going to do what? To grow. So I think our education and our trainings and our empowerment should take a different arm, but not only definitely for civil society. What is government doing? During this time, we also, those who watched Miracle Center, what Pastor Kayanja was doing, making sure that they go to Karamoja, there is land, but because people are hungry, women can't dig, women can't even go for mining. Yes. But let's make sure that we have a policy change and engage other stakeholders. Let's go find out land, you know, let's grow with these women. So for me, I think going forward, we should look at the investigation, then look at how we are going to do policy change. And then for me, definitely, I can't talk about these things without asking government. If civil society is talking about these things, how is government ready? You get it? If government is talking about mindset change in the parish development model, and government is saying, I understand, I think Minister of Gender is trying to look at a program called GROW to give women who are in business money. Which business are we targeting? Because for me, these women in the villages where they have businesses of keeping money together, then buying food in the festival, they also know that it's business. You know? Yes. So how do we group these women? How do we take on the education? How do we look at the policy change? And how do we look at our budgets? Trying to think about these women during the inflation, but again thinking about how they should give a giving heart. I remember Civil was say it is better to have a giving heart. So women are givers. Okay, I will take it back to
Thank you,
to Joanna.
Yes,
She
Joanna.
mentioned something about the government and giving these women money. So over time, according to statistics, the rate of women-owned business has grown at least from 1.5 compared to the men.
Yes.
And women are really starting businesses. But now, when you look at the macroeconomics issues and everything,
Yeah.
it's that as much as these women are starting businesses, they will start the businesses, they have the platforms. Government is trying to do all these models, of course, with the help from civil society. Of course, civil society starts, then makes noise, then now government has to come in. But what the underlying issue is that these women, everything that affects their business goes back to culture, goes back to the patriarchal issues. And when I say patriarchal issues, is that it is not just a thing of men wanting to take over, but now they are taking over at the same time neglecting their roles, the men. And this woman is thinking, over time, when women were not engaged in business, there are these women, I remember some of the conversations and people whenever would be in the village, and my grandmother would be talking, like in their days when she used to make sure she grows the sorghum and then sells it because she has to buy cups. I mean, what if visitors come? On Christmas, what if someone passes by?
Yes.
Because in her mind, she's thinking, I shouldn't be like the other home that doesn't have.
Yes,
I do not want to be the topic of the village that I'm the one who does not have cups. In this era, I'm the one still using plastic plates and cups. So at this time, when women are engaging in getting in the small scale businesses, their mind is, I can't be the topic of the village like my mother was, like my grandmother was. So the mindset starts from, you have to understand where they're coming from, that because I grew up eating on plastic plates, I can't watch my children doing the same on Christmas. Because I grew up I saw my mother put on one dress and she was moving from one garden to another, and it's the same clothes she used to take to the market. I can't be the same as my mother, or as my grandmother. So while as this generation, I am looking at, my mother has a master's degree, so I must be able to, have more than her. That woman, that girl in the village, for her level of thinking is, I must put on a better dress. I must have the nice clay cups in my house.
Yes.
So these women that are shopping all these things, it is from a mindset of, these men have become drunkards. When you go to these communities, not even in the rural areas, even here in the slums, men wake up, go ride their borders, and by the time they come back home, they'll probably not even bring 20,000 home. And this woman is thinking, is it my child that is going to go to school without shoes? Is it my child that is going to appear at church without shoes? Is it my child they will look at that has one hairstyle from January to January? So our issues are, like women issues, are stemming from patriarchal settings and mindset. And like this man who is thinking, and I am so happy that lately there's so many young women trying to own land. And so if someone wakes up and says, why are these women trying to buy land? Like this equality thing is getting up and above, and women are trying to own land. It is because when the man had the authority over land, he would not think twice when he's going to sell this land. He will not think about the children. So these women, everything they are doing to engage in the macro and micro businesses, it is to secure the future. You are educated women, whatever you're doing now, my dear mothers, me and Ruth at least can you might find whatever you're doing, even as you're establishing these organizations are doing all this work. Elliot, what is at the back of your mind is, my children can't be there and do not have anything like I am doing. So while you are thinking about it at a level where you are, because of the education you have received, this woman in the village is not going to think like that. I have seen women in my mother's village do all sorts of manual labor to make sure their children at least attain a diploma level. And when this child comes from the village, goes to the nearby institutes and gets a diploma, in her head what is there is, I saw a degree holder in my village, maybe Joanna or someone else, putting on this nice shoe. I must have it for Christmas. So I want us to understand where we are coming from, where these women are coming from, where whatever is affecting them, while we want to feel like, no, you have to spend less. Hey, even the less, that 200, my friend, this woman has actually never touched 200 as a whole in her entire life. So when she gets it, what is in her is like, hey, they've laughed at my children all my life. Why can't I buy them something better? So now the mindset, we have to start with why. Why are they doing so? Where are they coming from? Because when you look at statistics from the labor law, from Uganda Bureau of Statistics, everything that women are doing is actually progressing. Women are getting engaged. Women are being shrewd about business. Women are starting all sorts of things. Right now, you will find someone. Personally, I am, yes, in the formal world, civic, but I have a side hustle of a business that someone can look at and be like, Joanna, you actually do this business. I'm like, yes, I actually do it, because we are trying to look at the 7 streams of income. But guess what? It is all up to, I can't be struggling like my sister in a village is doing. And then also at her level, she's thinking the same, just like her mother as well. So right, when we're discussing economics and women, it is a very complex space, because their mind of coming to the front, it is coming with the entire cultural and societal mindset and attitudes, while those who have been lucky enough to be liberated from that are looking for better things. But even better things also
Joanna,
are
allow me
stemmed
to
to
interject.
that. Yes.
Allow me to interject. When you speak, my mind goes back to what we were having a conversation on last week. And you are saying me and Juliana, maybe we have gone beyond the age. We are still there.
No, I meant as far as education is concerned,
I would have loved, maybe civic space will give us more time next time to have a conversation of making a comparison of such a festivals and how women spend, depending on how much they have.
Yes.
I think that is something that is very, very important. And I believe Julian and Joanna, you are going to agree with me that maybe Joanna has not been in the village for a long time. maybe Juliana has not been in the village for a long time. Maybe I think I stayed in the village for some time, and I'm still living in the village because I live in Uganda. Uganda is 8 kilometers from Kampala. You see, you don't even know that space. Uganda is one of the peri-urban villages that we call it a village in Wakiso district. And it has different tribes. It has many, many tribes. It has people that have come from markets, from Kasumi, from where, and they came and lived there. So maybe our conversation should, how do we put a comparison of how women in the city spend during the festival, and the women in the villages spend their money during the festival. And maybe going to Juliana's organization when she's talking about the issues of trade and manufacturing. What are you manufacturing? How much money are you getting from what you are manufacturing? I may be manufacturing liquid soap as a mother. And maybe I have not put in mind that I'm going to manufacture soap, but some soap is going to be used for hygiene at home. Some soap is going to be used for income generation. But then I have to save some little money from that, my small manufacturing, for Christmas. I think that's where we have to make a clear indication for the viewers. Yes. So we are talking about inflation. Maybe I have been buying dress for my mother, buying dress for a friend, giving Santa gifts, you know. But because there is inflation, as a woman from town, I need to rethink. Am I going to Christmas because fuel has increased and transport has increased? I believe by Christmas, if you are going to Chibuku, I don't know your village, Ruth.
My village is Kamuli.
is Kamuli. I've been in Kamuli. Maybe you are going far to Viende.
Yes.
And then maybe transport has been at 30,000. How do we advise this woman? If she goes back to her association, if I go back to women and girl children, if she goes back to the slum women, how do we advise these women in terms of today there is price increase,
so you can.
there is inflation, but don't now shop like the way you used to shop during the festival. Maybe you may not need to go for Christmas now since you are here in the slum. Keep here. Maybe if you want to go, you will go after. That type of education and mindset change. And maybe if we talk about price fluctuations and how we want these women not to spend during this festival, maybe we can decide to say you have been taking 2 kilograms of meat to your mother. This time, tell your mother that things are what? Are hard. You know? How do we prepare these women? Because we have been talking about issues of the psyche, issues of the social norms, issues of patriarchy. But going forward, she brings in a very, very important thing. Women have started coming out of that type of spending. They are now looking at acquiring assets.
Okay.
Isn't it? I will spend money when I have something. Because I did not have ownership of land, but some of the husbands, my dear Joanna, you are still young. Today we are not saying men, we are saying some men. There are men who really don't do those things. There are some men who are doing that, and there are some men who are really in for their families.
Ours will be the good
Yes.
ones.
So some men have sold land without without
consent
informing the women. So maybe for this conversation where we're talking about inflation and the festival and the spending when the economy is in hardship, is maybe we should go back and speak to the women at different levels. Please don't spend a lot. But we know very well from the observations and research that there are women who have been keeping money for school fees aside. And mainly the single mothers. The single mothers where they have not taken their children, they have not gotten space to take them to government schools. But you find that I will make sure I will cook my food, but I will buy my dress, but I will not touch. Omukyala Omuganda ajja kugamba sijja kukwata ku ssente ya fees. Sente zange za kikazi nzimanyi. You get what I'm saying? So I will keep money for fees, I will keep money for my mother's dress, and I will make sure that I enjoy my festival. So for me, I think that's where we are supposed to take the conversation than maybe saying they spend the way they want.
Spend the way they want.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Elliot. For those of you who have just joined us, today we are discussing the economy, inflation, and how that gets down to women, and specifically as we draw closer to the festive season. So if you're just joining us, it's been a very interesting conversation, and one of the things that have come out now, that when we say women are spending a lot during the festive season, it is not on their own. It's not on their account. Society has for years been building things up on women, some of which include gender roles, which include taking care of people, taking care of children, buying the food. And so all these roles trickle down on the woman, and eventually she will have the responsibility to buy the clothes for the children, to buy the good food, and to make sure that everyone around her is happy. So as we now get to the last half of this show, what needs to be done? We have discussed how the economy is right now. And clearly we can see that we don't have the luxury as women. We don't have that laxity of saying, I now have to buy 7 kilograms of meat for my mother and everyone in the village, and my children have to be with nice shoes, and you know. So what needs to be done? If a woman is joining us from the slums, if a woman is joining us from the village, if maybe this video is going to reach to some other woman, what do you think needs to be done now that women we don't have that luxury anymore? What can we do as the festive season draws closer?
I think there are some things that we need to do that are obvious.
Yes.
First, let's reduce expenditure. That's a must. We must reduce expenditure in whichever way. If you've been using 2 cars at home, please
use one.
Because if you've been, you've been using 2 cars, and in one way your wife goes to work, your husband goes to work, and you're using, let's say on average, fuel of around 50,000 for small cars.
Yes.
It has now shot to 100,000. So 100,000, if you multiply by, let's say, 26 days that we work in a month, how much is that?
That is
That's
260.
2.6 million times a year.
That's
Look
a
at
lot
how
of
much money is getting out. Are you making that money anyway?
No.
So we need to accept that the situation is not good. Some of the basic things that we can do is if you've been
But
driving.
Juliana, before you go there, maybe even on these 2 cars when they reduce, it will help us on the emissions.
Yeah, I mean, all those are the advantages because
think
still
so.
things like emissions increase inflation.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, the government is having to fight so many other things. It's putting money in climate issues. It's putting billions of money in Mbari. It's putting billions of money in Kasese, of which that money would be doing
Economic empowerment.
other economic, for example, infrastructure development, doing other medical services, giving medical services to the people.
Yeah.
So instead of that money coming back to the economy and helping people, it ends up probably in these trying to mitigate climate issues.
Yes.
So I think what she's saying is right, is that as we also think of the pocket issues, we also think the impact of these monies we spend every day. So things like when we were beginning this discussion, there was something to do with children having come for holidays. As mothers, as women, what are we doing? If you have a business, why not bring your daughter or your son? Instead of keeping at home sleeping,
Yes.
give them a job. That could save you the extra income that you would pay someone else. Because you're going to come with your daughter at home. You have 5 daughters, they are all at home, or 6 children. They are all at home watching television.
Yes.
How about to bring them on and support you in your business?
Exactly.
And that reduces how much money you're taking out. And then you instead bringing in more money.
Exactly.
Things like saving. If you've not been saving, this is time to save. If you get 20,000, there is no bargaining about this. Saving and investing. When the inflation is going up, there are some of these things that are a must. Because one thing that you must know is that inflation directly affects income.
Yeah, sure.
When they talk of double-digit inflation, like she has said, if you've been using 20,000 to shop all the food for the family,
Yes.
now 20,000 cannot even shop half.
Yes.
Because when you get out a bar of soap, you get out bread, almost 20,000 is gone. You haven't bought
Sugar,
another meal,
charcoal.
you haven't bought charcoal, you haven't bought sugar, you haven't bought other things that you need at home. So what we have to do is to ensure that we do what? We control some of the things that we have been using in our homes.
Yeah. Okay.
So besides the saving, we even government, what do we call on government to do? I beg government, please, let's reduce these big expenditures on procurements. I am an advocate of government stopping billions of money that is being spent on stationery. We can do online and everything. There is no printing. Everything is done on computers and there is no printing. So we reduce the money that we are spending on stationery. We reduce on monies that are going on functions that are not necessary. Government functions must be reduced. We must reduce infrastructures that are not very necessary. There are key things that we must concentrate on now. We must act like we are in a crisis. Medical is number one. Because when inflation increases, it tends to affect people's health because of stress. Stress levels go up. So the expenditure on medical triples because people are either thinking they are finding a way of surviving, their families are not doing well. So they end up all the time what they are thinking of is, so the medical is something that government should prioritize. At least someone knows that even if I get sick or my children get sick, if I walk to Murago, I can get some subsidized service. So some of those are things that tend to when the economy is sick, it stresses the people, and the people stress the economy. That is how the vicious circle keeps going. So if we don't work on those details, health costs, we must ensure that they are reduced in one way or another. infrastructure development. Let's do what is important now. It is not time to spend how we want. Festivals, functions, government functions, unnecessary big festivals like birthdays, those must stop. There are some of those things that we must come out and speak about.
Yes.
You cannot be spending billions of money now on some function, even if it's a government function. How about, even if it's independence, how about we invite a few ministers, representatives, and we have a function with around 20 people, and the day is done. How about that?
Thank you, Julian. She mentioned something about the healthcare system and stress on people. And I see this really relates with women, because when you read about how women spend their money, many times some women, I don't say most, because maybe we appreciate efforts of them. Some women are impulse buyers, and that impulse increases as the season draws closer. That you've seen something like, oh my God, there are new balloons. There is a new kind of balloons on the market. I need to go and buy them. So December goes and February, January come. You have school fees, bills, and you get into a season of what we call a spending regret. We're like, why did I waste all that money? And because women are so retrospective, it drives you into a whole season of a depression, a stress. So I still want to know what can be done, Joanna, to see that women don't get to that position of a spending regret come February next year.
First of all, I think that is not even supposed to be just a women thing. We all need to take caution, starting with government, because it has to be an up-down trickle kind of pathway. So when we are talking, she talked about expenditure. Before we get to the women being stressed, right? Apparently, there are all sorts of memes on government asking for money and borrowing money, and I'm thinking, so if we are crying to the government and the government is also borrowing money, and yet it is the same government that has people that are doing functions that we have no idea what the intention is. I hear, someone is going to meet the youth in some district, and then all sorts of expenditures are done, and you're wondering, did we really have to? And then the projects that bring in the income, so it's very easy for the government to report to us that we are in a crisis and we're going to ask money from World Bank or any other government, but then they never give us the accountability of money that, for example, is collected at the Entebbe Express Highway. Where does that money go? I am very, very sure they collect a lot of money, but I'm sure they haven't even started on paying the loan that even constructed the road. So it is a trickle-down pathway that if just like families function, if I'm in a family and I have a father who does not think about how he spends, then I am not probably going to do the same, because it's a monkey see, monkey do kind of game. And now we're saying, as women, how do we curb this? Of course, at the end of the day, whether the government is doing something or not doing something, you as a person, you have your own effects that are independent of what everyone is facing. So we literally have to shift the mindset. Because telling someone, you know what, now you've been buying 2 dresses, one for Christmas, another one for New Year. Now you're going to buy one. It's someone might think, like, if I can afford, or if the money is there, I should actually do it. But in actual sense, the money is not there. So we need a mindset shift. And this one goes to every other person, from the lower level to the middle level to the higher level. And then we also have to look at ways of improvising. There's so many women projects that are making soap, that are making anything that is available for making. And do we really have to go for White Star? if Elliot is training some, I know a girl deep down in she is making very good soap, though it is not yet like on the market that big. But if she's selling her bar at 5,000, do I have to buy White Star of 10,000? Because because White Star is at a manufacturer level. It's just like the way you go to a supermarket, there is jester that is in the paint, then there is jester that is in the cup. So you have to balance your
choose.
budget, and you have there is always a choice to these things, but we choose not to choose. We choose not to make a choice.
Yes.
So I think we need to have a mindset shift in terms of what we can do when it comes to saving,
Yes.
and when we have saved, what are the objectives of saving?
Okay.
Are we staying on the objectives of saving? And then we also have to, now at the policy level, we need a representation of women making being at the dialogue table of these economic issues.
Yes.
We need a very big representation, because if it's only the Ministry of Finance that is going to plan for everyone, and yet the people that sit on the table of women entrepreneurs have actually never been in the shoes of this local woman or this woman in the slum, there is no way she cannot. You see, the funny thing is that when you're speaking to these women, you tell them, this woman in Katanga actually makes 5,000 but spends 10,000. She's like, how do you even do that? Hey, she's trying to survive. Like, they be in survival mode all through. For us, we are looking at it right now and like, oh my God, wake up, we have to be in survival mode. But these people live in survival mode all their lives. So we need the representation of the Katanga woman at the decision
Thank
making
you,
level.
Joanne. I hope you've made your concluding remarks as well.
Yes.
So I'll give half a minute to Julian and Elliot to make the final remarks as we come to the close of the show. Elliot.
Okay.
In those, you could also merge what you think can be done for women.
I think I had talked about the action,
Yes.
action that can be done. Of course, talking about women in Uganda is a big globe for
Yes.
me, because there are so many women, and the women that we have are in different categories.
Yes.
And looking at the economy now, in relation to what we are talking about on the issues of inflation and the festival, first of all, we and the viewers, I think, will share this. It's not about celebrating. It's not about celebrating a birthday. It's about thinking about the mental health that we have today. That sometimes those celebrations also help, but we need to know how we cost effectively spend on such a functions. Secondly, what I want to take on, and what I want the government to take on, is we are talking about saving. Every person is saying save, but we have not built capital. We have not built capital for these spaces. I think for me, what women want now is how the government help them inject so that they can have seed capital, and then we start telling them on how they are supposed to save from what they have earned.
Yes.
And lastly, I think for me, we have seen our taxation trends changing, and asking women not to celebrate and spend a lot. But I think government should also think about how to tax these women in the economy, in the markets, those who are dealing in any business. How do we start looking at the systems and change the way of taxing the businesses that the women are doing? If there are these businesses that are not earning, let them give them a sort of an equality sense that these women are not earning a lot, so we should not really tax them a lot. And lastly, I really want to thank you for this space. And I believe that we are not going to regret a lot after this conversation.
Indeed.
Let the viewers and the listeners know that it is about Christmas, it is about celebrating the birth of Jesus, but again, it's about loving ourselves and loving each other. Allow me to submit.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you so much.
Julian, what would you have to say as we conclude?
Well, like so much has already been said.
Yes.
But for me, my call to the women, whichever woman, and at whichever level, is that this situation that we are in is not a good situation.
Yeah.
So we need to plan for it. And if you think it hasn't reached you, it is soon.
Yeah, sure.
Because we are going to get to a time when probably we are going to lack school fees for our children. So what inflation does to people, it kills your confidence.
Yes, it does.
It kills your humanity. what they call ubuntu. It kills that because it makes you lose yourself, because you realize that you cannot manage anything. When a person reaches to a point and they cannot manage basic needs, that's when someone starts losing themselves. So I call upon everybody, let's ensure that you do something in your space. If it's a business, try to reduce how much you're spending, putting out. Try to ensure that you're increasing your sales in whichever way. And try to create another hustle. If one is failing, try to create another hustle, in whichever small way that it is. Because what inflation does, it reduces the power of spending. It affects your lifestyle. So if we all work on that, and this is a call to the mothers of this nation, that the economy is in our hands. It is time for us to stand up as women. We've been talking about women empowerment. It is now to start talking about women economic empowerment.
Wow. Thank you so much, my amazing panel. It's been lovely to listen in from you. Very educative. I've learned a lot. One of the things I've learned is that women are not spending because they are spendthrifts, but because of the burden that society has put on them. You and I can do something to see that we change and we put down some of these norms that are placing a very huge burden on women. Because one of the things I've learned is that humanity is a two-winged bird, and a bird cannot fly with only one wing flapping. So if we want to grow as an economy, if we want to grow as a people, if we want to grow as a nation, it is important that we support women's economic empowerment and we support women in making some of these decisions. Key things that came through, especially as we draw closer to the festive season, is let's change our spending habits. See what you can handle, see what you cannot handle. Let's prioritize what is key and necessary. And enjoy your festive season. From us here at the Civic Space TV, we encourage you to subscribe to our channels. Follow us on Civic Space TV on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Yes, and see you next week. Thank you.